Now guys, the final part here of our page content is finally customizing our homepage. I know we left that to last, but it's important to do that for me anyway, because I'm going to have a responsive slider on my homepage and that will display my pages. So I needed to put the content in my pages first, and I just think it's the best order to do it in. So you've got to come to design again. If you might have forgotten how to get to the homepage part, design and then appearance. I've gone ahead and added some of the content to my website, and I've added the content that I've already shown you how to do. So here is and I'll go into the content area so you can see. So to customize the content on your site, which is all of this content here, you come to content areas. Obviously the header right is your custom menu and your social icons, which is these. Your header top is this, achieve the absurd, social testing, and then there's the button here, which is this button there. Okay, so I'm dealing with my home middle, and the first widget I have is a text widget, and that text widget has all of this text here, including images. And because I've already shown you how to input text and add in images and that type of thing, I didn't think I'd waste your time doing it again. You already know how to do it. So and you can go back to the previous tutorials where I'm adding content to pages. It's basically just typing in your content. To change the color in these, so here I've got my HR attribute, which adds this horizontal line here. The second HR attribute adds the bottom horizontal line. I've got this bolded with the B here. To change the color to the red, I've got an attribute for font color equals quotation marks, then the hashtag color and quotation marks and the attribute there. So that's how you change the color within a text. And make sure you put the end font attribute there and the end bold attribute there. So that's how you can create the red color. What other code do I have? Again, the horizontal line, the B for bold, the font color is there, end font attribute, end bold, another horizontal line. The image here I've taken again from PhotoBucket, which I've shown you how to do. I can show you how to do that again if you'd like quickly. Okay, so I'll just go to my library, and obviously you would have hopefully signed up for PhotoBucket before we started and created your album. So I'll go to my DRH2 album, and we are looking for this one here. So you come to the image that you want to add in, you hover over the gear icon, you go to share links, you share in the HTML link by just pressing in this input box. That copies it automatically. You bring it over here and wherever you want it. So it's a bit tricky. I've got it next to the one here because if you put it anywhere else, it drops it anywhere else. So if I were to put this image here under the achieve, which is here, so that loads like that. So remember that you want to take out the A attribute and the finishing attribute so that it doesn't link to any page, and so then it will just reload now to being just a picture, so you can't click on it. I'll put that where I need to put it, not next to the achieve. I'll put that here underneath the one that's currently there. Now I have added some code here. So to align your image, see this is my image here, and it's by default it comes to the left hand side, whereas this one that I've already done, I've moved it to the right. To do that, you add some typing before the slash and the ending attribute. So after where the image is, you can hit a space bar. To align it to the right, you just type in align equals quotation marks right, close quotation marks, and that'll move this image here over to the right, as you can see there. Another thing that I have done is, do you see that on this picture that I've had in there, there is some white space between the text and the image, and in this new one there is no white space. What I've done there is added in a margin. So if you keep typing, hit a space bar after that right, type in style equals margin colon 10px semicolon, that'll put in a margin there between the text. It'll actually put in a 10-point margin around the whole image, but obviously it's hard to tell, but it is easy to tell with the content. So you can make that, you know, whatever you want, 30px, and that'll create a bigger margin. There you go, but I'll just keep mine as 10. So I'll delete this old one. Sorry about that, I was just logged out there. But that's how you customize an image within here. It's just, you know, you can go align, right, style equals, and then whatever margin you need, and that creates the margin around it, and it also aligns it to the right. I'll just see if there's anything else here that's any different. All of these are just the same, follow the same process. Okay. Doesn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary here. It's all just text, plus my different colorizations and the bolding. Keep coming, keep coming. Okay, another image here. Again, I've aligned it to the right and I've got a 10-point margin around it. All the rest is just text. I've shown you how to add in your signature there. It's just an image that I've taken from Photo Bucket, and that puts in the signature. And otherwise, that's just text, and we've done that before previously, so that should be pretty straightforward. You can just go back and watch that one to show it. The next one, which I've done before now because we've already done it, is I've added in my opt-in form, and it's the same opt-in form as the one that I've got over on my sidebar. So if you watch that tutorial there, it's just the same. It's exactly the same. Obviously, it just is bigger, wider, because it doesn't fit into a sidebar. So that's the only difference. Okay. So this is the part. This is my dynamic slider or responsive slider. Can't remember what it's called. So responsive slider. So this is what I'll customize now because we obviously haven't done this one. Now the responsive slider at the moment is showing my posts, my blog posts that I've published, and I would like it to show my pages. So I'm going to go ahead and do all that. I'll put a title in first. So this will be hopefully where I direct people to various parts of my site. I want to direct them to my 3 menus. I want to direct them to my blog, my podcast, and my Rainmaker tutorial. I don't want to direct them to my post. So to do that, right click on slider settings, open that in a new tab. Okay, so these are the slider settings. First one, would you like to use posts or pages? And as I've said, I would like to use pages. You can use any of these, but I want to use pages. Okay, I don't worry about this. I think if you were to put the page ID here, it would show those pages only, but I've only got 3 pages and I only want to show 3 pages, so I'm not too worried about that. So yeah, I won't worry about any of this. Number of slides to show, I've only got 3 pages, my blog, my podcast, and my tutorial, so I'm going to change this 5 to 3. Order by date. I'm fine for it to be ordered in any way. So time between slides, by changing this to say 8,000, then the time between the passing of the slides. So you'll see this slide, and 4,000 milliseconds later, it will change to the next one. It's probably not doing it now because I'm not live on the web page. So it was 4,000. You can change it to make that slide transition slower or faster, or the time between slides. The transition speed is the actual time that it takes for one slide to turn into another one. So this is the time between when one slide appears and when the other one appears, and this is the time for that actual transition to occur. Slider effect, so you can either do a slider or a fade. So a fade will just blink in and blink out, and I probably will keep the fade instead of the slider. You can change the width of the slider, so from here to here, and you can also change the height of the slider. I'm just going to leave it there. So the next and previous arrows will just put a previous arrow here and a next arrow here that they can flip between the slides. I'm just going to leave mine without the arrows so that it's not that cluttered. A pagination in the slider puts a page number, don't need that. Here, do not link slider image to post or page. I want my slider image to link to the page that it's referring to, so I won't click that. I want the title of my page to be in the slider. I want it to say, DRH blog or whatever the title is. I want content displayed in the slider, a little snippet of content. Hide title and content on mobile devices, I'll leave. Select one of the following: display post content or display post excerpts. I'll leave it as display post content. So the continue reading is this here. I'll change that to head there now because I want people to be prompted to go to the site. So limit the content. So I've said that I want to display the content in the slider, so which is this excerpt here. You can limit how many characters you want. So at the moment it is only showing 100 characters, which is this here. You can make that more or less so that it displays more or less characters. The excerpt width here is this, so you can make that bigger or smaller, and I might make that 80% just to show you what happens. Okay, excerpt location is the location of this box. So at the moment it's set to top left. It appears top left of the slider, top left. I want to make that bottom right for mine. So I want it to appear down here because all of my images, it just depends where there's some space in your images. I've got a bit of space where there's nothing here, but on one of my images there's a word or something that this will block over. So I just want to move it down here. Okay, so once you've filled out those, you've got to hit save settings. And then we'll have a look. I'll right click and we'll have a look at the site. I'll open it in a new tab so that you can see the effects of those changes in the slider settings. Okay, so there you can see this is now 80, a width of 80, which looks far too big. But it's changed my images to the page images. So I've got my blog, I've got my tutorial there, that's my feature image. So that's the importance of having your feature image, and that's my podcast. So have a play around. Obviously, let's try 60%. It was 40. I changed it to 80, and I think that's far too wide. And you might need to make it wider to fit in your header, the heading for each thing. You don't need to. So that's your responsive slider. And we'll come back to here. Make sure you save and publish the page there. Even though you've saved your responsive slider settings, I'll reload that so that my new slider appears on this editing page. Okay, so there I've got my text, I've got my form, and then I've got my responsive slider. The final thing here is just to change the footer. You'll notice that these are all cramped up. It's only because I've got this open. In the normal site, that'll all be spread out. And I can just, so go to content areas, footer 1, 2, and 3. This is footer 1, this is footer 2, this is footer 3. I've got my content in my content creation document. So I can just paste that into there. put in a title about the DRH. So that's just a quick little explanation of what it is. Okay. Footer 2. I've got there. And then I'll keep the connect with us in footer 3. I'll change it to, I'll change that text. Okay, so they're the widgets here. Obviously, I don't want all of those. I'll get rid of this one. I'll have an email, Facebook. I don't have Instagram. I don't have LinkedIn. So I'm just going off these ones up here. I've got email, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So Twitter's added, YouTube's added. Sorry, I should really be adding in the correct one. I'll just copy and paste them from here, from this top one, just to make it easier. So that's basically it. You can go ahead and do that by changing these up. So that's now my, I'll add the last ones just so that they're in there. Twitter is Tom Allen is. YouTube I'll just paste. Okay, so there we go. They're all in. I'll save and publish that. And that is basically all of the content on my site done. Why is that not allowing me to write that? Have a play. It's a bit fiddly. Make sure all of your content is in there. Okay, so let's go over and have a look at the website. There we go. So there's my homepage. Start here. That's some text with some images in there. My opt-in form, my responsive slider, which can take me to each of the pages. So that's going to the podcast, which is fine. Is this going to the blog? Let's go into the blog. This needs to go to the tutorial. So all of my content is in. I've got my homepage, I've got my blog page, I've added some content into my Rainmaker tutorial, and hopefully you've done the same. So you'll see now that my footers are the same all the way across. The podcast is done, and so that's all of the pages. So that ends our content merging part of the tutorial. Thank you very much.